Has a client overpaid you and you need to refund the balance? Had a direct debit bounce back, leaving both an income and expense transaction from the same supplier? Or perhaps you've got transactions that net off against each other and you're wondering how to correct them through Xero. If any of these situations sound familiar, this video is for you. Today, I'll be showing you a few ways to reconcile these types of transactions in Xero. There are often several ways to achieve the same result, but this method is simple, effective, and helps keep your record nice and tidy. Hi, if you're new here, welcome. My name's Lucy and I run Buttons Academy, where I help business owners and accountants with accounting general top tips, Xero and QuickBooks training. Today, we're going to look at when we have two transactions that basically net off against each other. They're from the same contact and we need to know how to reconcile them. So, starting on the dashboard screen, what we're going to do is jump on over to our bank account. Now, my relevant bank account is on my dashboard here, but if our bank isn't on this dashboard, then we can go onto accounting and bank accounts to open up our relevant bank account. So on the reconcile screen, what I need to do is go and find those transactions. So in my instance, it's actually an electricity direct debit bounce back, but the exact process we're going to run through today works for whether it's a customer or a supplier. Option number one. What we can do is, again, I've not done anything when it comes to reconciling these transactions just yet. And the reason for that is because this helps simplify things, because I can see exactly where I've coded this transaction to, whether it's the received item first or the payment. And so knowing exactly where you've coded it to allows you to make sure that the other amount is coded to the same location. So for this item, we're going to code it to our electric company. And then we're going to code it to electricity. And in here, in the description, if I wanted, I could always enter that this is a direct debit bounce back, just in case I end up going to the wrong place. And then click OK. And because I know that this is the opposite side of this transaction, all I need to do is code it to the exact same location as the first one. And again, I can say the same thing. And now what that does is, because the two transactions are in the same location, that they net off. And therefore, on a reporting perspective, it would treat it as though it didn't happen and didn't exist. That is option number one and is the most simple option to do. Option number two. Now we're going to pretend that this is actually a customer payment. So we're going to start with the received item first. So what we're going to say is, again, I'm just going to, for ease, use the same company name because I've already got it set up. But what we're going to pretend is this is a customer. So instead of creating this transaction, what I might actually say is, actually, there's no invoice this relates to, but it is an overpayment. So maybe what we could do is go onto the match page and then scroll on down until we see new transaction. Click on that and then click receive money. And then in here where it says received as, we could change that to overpayment. And what this means is it records it against our balance sheet as income prepaid. So we're saying that we have incurred some income before we actually needed to. So before the invoice was maybe created, because there's no current service that's been provided. And click save. And then again, click OK. So by doing this option, what it means is you might not actually have to do the refund. So again, we're just going to ignore that we have this refund in here. And instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my sales invoices. And then in new invoices, I've got this overpayment that's in the background, but now actually I've done some more work for this client. So let's create that invoice for them. So as of today, I have created an invoice, so I've done some work for them, and already we can see that we have this £52.87 credit available. So that then means that this client already won't have to pay me £52.87 because they've already paid it. So in this instance, maybe I am providing a valuation. And this valuation costs £100. So what I can do is then click approve. And then straight away, it gives me this option to apply the credit. So now I don't have to pay that client back that additional money because we've basically put it into the next invoice, the next future invoice. I do appreciate this isn't maybe possible because sometimes the customers are one-off customers and you wouldn't expect them to come back. Alternatively, some customers just don't want to have overpaid you and would want that refund. So this doesn't always work. But if it does for you, you can click apply credit and then you would type in the figure of that credit amount and click apply. And then before I've even got the option to send this invoice to the client, it's already said and calculated how much more they owe me. So now when I send them this invoice, it already shows them, actually, it's only going to cost you £47.13 because you've already paid me some of this amount. So that is option number 2. Option number 3, another alternative, what you can do is you could actually create an invoice for this figure. And so you might say, okay, well, it's been maybe a week since this income came through. Maybe I didn't realize that it came through, but this is their weekly balance that they need to pay you. So you just allocate it straight to next week's invoice. That also works. That's not a problem. Some customers, as long as they're happy to allow you to hold on to that amount, it works for that. So in this instance, we can go back over to our matching invoices and have a look to connect this straight to an invoice. And then we click OK and confirm. And that would mean that we wouldn't necessarily have to refund the value back. And so again, we're pretending this doesn't exist. If, however, your customer really doesn't want you holding on to the amounts, then what I would advise is not to create any invoices because that then can become quite confusing. Because if I've actually got an invoice created as I do right now, I now need to then go and create a credit invoice to offset it. Again, you could officially just create this as a transaction and it would just go against the client's name and then the what. And so you don't officially have a paper trail, you just have the transaction specifically. So again, you could say refund and then post it that way. Alternatively, if you do like to have that paper trail, what I would advise is going back over to sales and invoices and then creating a new credit note. And then all you have to do is create that credit note for that customer. Typically, if I wanted to create a credit note really simply, I would open up the invoice, click on the 3 dots and create a credit note. However, in this instance, that's not possible. And the reason for that is because the payment has already been allocated. If there was no payment in here, we would have the option to create a credit note. And what that is doing is it's taking everything on this invoice, copying it and reversing it. That is just a few ways to reconcile transactions that net off against each other. I do hope this video was helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow along for more helpful top tips from Burton's Academy. I'll see you at the next one.